Alright there guys, how's it going? So this video might be a bit of a long one. We've got an article to go through from David Ornstein in regards to Edwards and Richard Hughes. But before I just get into that a little bit more, I just want to say a massive thank you to Watty for becoming a channel member. I appreciate it so much, mate. I don't really advertise it. Oh, the only time I ever mention memberships on this channel is when someone else becomes a member. But yeah, I appreciate it so much, mate. And yeah, don't know what else to say to you, mate, but just thank you. So yeah, let's just get into this article. So to start off this whole video, guys, I'm just going to go out on a limb here, and I'm basically going to go with this. I think this is happening. I think that Michael Edwards and Richard Hughes will be in charge at Liverpool, but Michael Edwards is not getting a job at Liverpool. He's getting a job at FSG. He's just taking over the footballing operations, I wish, of Liverpool. One other little bit of information you might want to also know is that the last manager that Richard Hughes appointed has the same, which his name is Areola. Is that his name at Bournemouth? Yeah. He has the same agent as Xabi Alonso. So I do think now this puts us in a little bit of good stead of getting Alonso because of the working relationship. You know, we always go on about working relationships with agents for players. And the same for me goes with like managers. So the fact that he's already got that relationship with the agency, yeah, it puts Xabi back up at the top of my list again. So let's get into this thing, guys. One more thing as well, sorry, before we do. Sorry to keep stopping and starting. This has come from FSG to Ornstein. Ornstein gets his Liverpool information from FSG, yeah? So that's why I think this is happening. Michael Edwards is close to agreeing a senior role with FSG, which would include the former Liverpool executive taking oversight of the club's football operations. Liverpool are in the midst of a huge transition following manager Jurgen Klopp's decision to step aside this summer, with his closest staff also scheduled to leave and sporting director George Schmadtke already having departed. If Edwards accepts FSG's offer, the sporting director's position is expected to be filled by Richard Hughes, whose exit at as Bournemouth's technical director was confirmed on Wednesday. Now, the one thing for me in regards to this is the fact that he said he's leaving Bournemouth at the end of the season. But Liverpool needs someone now. So will Liverpool have to pay severance for that? Or because he's already handed his notice in, does that like make that not going to happen type? I don't know, guys. Like, bit of a strange one. FSG targeted Edwards to spearhead the restructure, floating the idea of him occupying a top job at Liverpool or inside the ownership group, but he initially turned down the opportunity. However, the US group continued its pursuit, and Edwards is now on course to join in a far broader capacity that encompasses Liverpool rather than specifically returning to Anfield. While a deal is not yet done, discussions are progressing, and it is anticipated a definitive resolution will be reached early next week. The appointment of Hughes has always depended on FSG securing Edwards, and having served notice to the South Coast team some time ago, the ex-Scotland international has held discussions with multiple suitors since the January transfer window closed. Edward is known to regard Hughes among the industry's leading operators, and his move to install Areola as Bournemouth head coach last June underlined his credentials. Although Hughes has long been touted as a possible candidate, it only became a concrete direction of travel once FSG made progress during talks with Edwards in the past week, which is of course that Florida meeting that we know about that happened last week. It is unclear what Edwards arriving would mean for his commitments to Ludonautics, a sports advisory firm launched alongside him and former Liverpool colleague Ian Graham. The company is thriving, with Edwards having heavily involved, but as a non-executive director who would not be prevented from entering into employment elsewhere. Those privy to the matter say the Englishman has no intention of being a sporting director again and would only contemplate going back to an individual organisation if the scope was wider and more stimulating, enabling him to empower the sporting director and others on the ground. Go back at that a minute. that would form part of his remit in a new look FSG setup that is growing across different sectors, as shown by the appointment of Theo Epstein from Boston Red Sox, promotion for Sam Kennedy to Chief Executive, and Billy Hogan to Chief Executive of its international division. And there's an article here going on about what did Edwards do during his time at Liverpool, like we already know. Those that need to remember, though, is that like Edwards was not very highly thought of when he was at Liverpool to start with. And I'm in the same boat with Hughes right now. You know, I'm willing to give him a shot just because of the Edwards thing. But he hasn't really got that much of a CV. I'm going to contradict himself there, aren't I? He doesn't have the CV to say that he should be at Liverpool. But neither did Edwards. And I feel like Edwards shafted him a little bit when he was at Bournemouth. Because if you look at the players that we sold to him at Bournemouth for stupid amounts of money, Jordan Ibe, Brad Smith, Dominic Solanke, I guess you could say, has kind of come on now a little bit. But they're supposed to be mates. Maybe that's just why he's giving him the job, you know, as a bit of a, you know, thank you for what you did type thing. So yeah, there's an article there about who is Richard Hughes. I'll touch on this now since it's important to this whole thing. Hughes, 44, spent a decade as Bournemouth's technical director before departure was announced early this week. He was appointed to that role in 2014 because of the strength of his relationship with former manager Eddie Howe, who he had known as a teenager after they entered the club's first team together. After they both transferred to Portsmouth within a few months of one another in 2002, they met Edwards a year later when he moved to Fratton Park as a performance analyst. Howe spent much of his 2 years at Portsmouth injured, and this led to him considering where his future might lie after his career was over. Both he and Hughes became closer to Edwards. Though their paths would diverge over the years that followed, they remained connected because of the nature of their work. As Liverpool sporting director, Edwards would later sell Jordan Ibe, Brad Smith and Dominic Solanke to Bournemouth, managed by Howe, and with Hughes installed as a technical director for considerable sums. Yeah, we ripped him off. Harry Wilson also enjoyed a year loan at the club. Yeah, that's that. Can't believe how much we got for them players. It says here, like, you know, what does this mean for Liverpool's manager search? Basically that Hughes would take over now. Alonso is the prime front runner, as I've just mentioned before, and earlier on that Hughes knows his agency. Amorim is still mentioned, 8.6 million release clause for him. Nagelsmann, De Zerbi, Eddie Howe, of course, because they're all buddies. And it just goes on to mention as well that Hughes as well would have to get Salah, Van Dijk and Trent all signed up to new contracts straight away, pretty much as soon as he gets going. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. Exciting times. How do you feel about all this, guys? Are you excited? Are you happy with this? Have you got any like sort of reluctancy towards Hughes, or are you happy with this? Let me know down in the comments, guys. As I said at the beginning, I think, you know, this is happening. They have said that we should get some sort of conclusion to all of this by early next week, which, you know, it's a little bit before the dates I mentioned a few weeks ago in regards to the international break, but I'll still take that since it's within the month. I'll take that. But yeah, guys, anyway, I'll leave that with you. Let me know your comments down below and of your thoughts on the whole thing that's gone on. And yeah, I probably will do a video now next time there's some news breaking or after the game against Man City. So I'll catch you in the next one, guys.